Hi, VC Dark Dove back with my first video 2017. It's January, it's pretty cold, so I have my hat and my coat on. I'm about to set out after shooting this. So, yeah, so I met with Ben Costello recently. I'm going to show you some VCLT he gave me. A lot of the rest of the stuff I'll be showing are CDs. I've picked up a lot of CDs in charity and thrift shops lately, so just to let you know. Yeah, so Ben, met up with Ben Costello and young Ben, his son, here in Cork a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, I've been meaning to show this stuff for quite a while, but Ben gave me a couple of items which he picked up. I think he picked these up I think at a flea market. They're kind of interesting. These are probably not items which I would normally, or well, actually they're, but anyway. So yeah, first off, from Ben is a band whom I don't really generally set out to collect. I don't have much of them in my collection, and it's mainly CDs. But this is something which Ben picked up at the flea market. He picked it up quite cheaply, but this is an original mono copy of the Beatles Help. I'll just show you the on the Parlophone label with that yellow lettering. It's being played quite a bit, but I mean it sounds fine. This that old 1960s vinyl can be quite robust. Yeah, so I'm sure you're pretty much all familiar with this this album, so I won't go into it too much in detail. The title. Yeah, I'm sure you all know the tracks on this. I see somebody was doing a bit of artwork and drew some moustaches on George and Paul there. But thanks very much, Ben. This is probably the first original studio album that I have by the Beatles on vinyl, because as I said, I don't normally set out to collect them, but I mean I do like them, like most of you out there, I'm sure. So thanks very much for that, Ben. I'll just show the other two. Again, this is a rather unusual one. Probably something.
Holmes, the old man. It's not a bad album, even though I'm certainly not a big fan. I quite like the promo copy. This is rather interesting. Emotional copy. See there. So probably not something which I would normally set out to add to my collection, but still it's an interesting kind of a step out of my comfort zone. Courtesy of Ben. Finally, the Godfather theme music to the Godfather, and this is played by Neil Richardson and his orchestra. This is a release on Music for Pleasure. They did quite a lot of these releases, these covers of movie themes. They released quite a lot of these in the 70s. So I have a couple of these. I have a one Star Wars one by Jeff Love, and I think Jeff Love as well, Bond themes. Yeah.
So that was VCLT from Ben. So thanks very much for those three. Then on the day I met him, we did a bit of we just, as we normally do, we went on a tour of a few music shops. There's one second-hand music shop we paid a visit into. Ben alerted me to these two. He spotted these, and he knew that these would be things that I would be looking for. First off, Bowie the Next Day. Yes, I know this came out 4 years ago, and unbelievably, prior to this, I had not picked up a physical copy of this. And probably the main reason is that at the time that this album came out, in the place where I was working, I think I was given, as part of some kind of Christmas bonus, I was given a voucher for iTunes, and rather than, I mean, I'm not a big fan of downloads, but rather than, I wanted to use it, so I used it actually to download this album the next day on my computer, which I kind of meant, I've kind of had it in the back of my mind then to pick up a physical copy, but it kind of, anyway, I never got around to it. But anyway, when we were browsing, Ben spotted this second-hand CD copy, and knew that I'd be looking for this, so I picked it up, and yeah, I won't go into it because I'm sure you're all familiar with it. Also picked up this. This is a CD, which kind of, yeah, it's kind of like almost like a book. It's kind of hardback case, and this extensive booklet. This is Via Crucis. It is a Baroque, Renaissance, well, 17th century music by the likes of Monteverdi and other Italian composers. There's quite a lot of, there's mainly choral music performed by Christina Pluhar, so very nice find indeed. And yeah, so I made those two pickups while we're out. Okay, so yes, back to the subject of Bowie. The Man Who Fell to Earth soundtrack was finally released late last year. I, like many, was eagerly awaiting the release of this. Now, I was for Christmas from my girlfriend, I got a voucher, an all-in-one voucher. So I intended to use that to purchase the. My local high street music chain. I ordered it, so it actually, I had to go in about the order a few times, but it finally arrived last week. So I put my voucher to good use, and this is the Man Who Fell to Earth original soundtrack, double album. And yeah, so this does not actually feature any of the music of Bowie. Music is by Stomu Yamashita and John Phillips. John Phillips, who was a former member of the Mamas and the Papas. It's quite jazzy, this a lot of the tracks on this. It's actually not the full soundtrack, because the movie went on general, was re-released to some cinema, kind of art house cinemas late last year. I had seen the movie years ago, back in the 90s, so I went to see it again on the big screen. There's several pieces of music used in the movie that haven't ended up on this this soundtrack. For those of you who've seen the movie, there's one piece of music in particular that introduces Rip Torn's character,
which I quite like, and which I'm kind of disappointed that it didn't end up on the soundtrack. But anyway, still. Oh, sorry. By the way, I completely forgot. Sorry, just bear with me 2 seconds. If this kind of ties in, I found this in a flea market just before Christmas. This is an edition of a movie magazine called Films and Filming, and this is from February 1978, and featured on the cover is The Man Who Fell to Earth, which was just about to be released, and this is a kind of a promo feature on it. Just find this here. Yeah, there we go. Nicholas Roeg's The Man Who Fell to Earth, and interestingly enough, I don't know if you can quite see it there, but it says music by David Bowie, which of course in the end we know wasn't the case, because it was kind of intended that Bowie would record a soundtrack album for the movie, but that didn't materialize. So in the end, this soundtrack album, this soundtrack was produced by John Phillips and Stomu Yamashita. Yamashita. So and finally released now after 40 years. Okay, now moving on. This is something which I got online on Discogs. It's something that had kind of been on my want list for a while. Tape recorder music by Otto Lunig and Vladimir Yusashevsky. Now this is a very early electronic album of electronic music, which was recorded back in 1952 and then released in 1955. This is a reissue which came out 2013 on Cacophonic, which is a label, it's a sub-label of Finders Keepers Records. Yeah, so as it states, this makes extensive use of tape recorder. There's a lot of use of electronic flute on here, which is kind of reminiscent of what of those very early Kraftwerk albums, you know, which made extensive use of electronic flute as well. So yeah, so I got this quite cheaply actually. The guy I bought it off, he actually, before he shipped it out, he said he had listened to it, and he said there was quite a bit of surface noise on it. So he offered to post it to me and refund me completely. And I said, well, I thought it was a very generous offer, but I thought it'd be kind of a bit greedy of me. So I said to him, I said to him he could refund the postage. So basically, so I got postage for free, and it costs very little anyway. Now there is a bit of surface noise on it, alright, but it's, you know, I can live with that. So there we go. This is something I picked up just yesterday, and this is an album that I've been on my want list for a long time. That is the self-titled debut album by Planxty. This was released in 1973 on Polydor. Planxty, comprising of Christy Moore, Liam O'Flynn, Andy Irvine and Donal Lunny. Seminal Irish folk group, kind of a folk super group. I have their other two early albums. This is one that had eluded me. I had come across a couple of copies of this in the wild previously, which had been utterly trashed, but this one's in perfect condition. So yeah, if you're a fan of early
of 70s Irish folk. This is really a must-have album. This self-titled album by Planxty. Okay, I am going to show some a bit of a charity shop haul which I made recently. Now, these I found in a charity stroke thrift shop just a couple of weeks ago. Well, maybe actually a week ago, I think. Anyway, a lot of these are classical, so you know, if you're not too interested in classical, you might want to skip past. But there's some non-classical here as well. So yeah. So well, actually, this does include a cassette, which is kind of thrown in for free, because there was no price tag on this. So when I asked how much did they want for the cassette, they just threw it in for free. But this is okay. Going back to Leonard Cohen, another sadly departed musical giant who left us in 2016. This is Songs from a Room from 1969. Now I already have this on vinyl, but this is an original UK cassette copy on CBS, so I couldn't leave this behind. I have been picking up quite a lot of cassettes lately, and this sounds perfect. So very pleased to pick that up. The vinyl, okay. This I picked up a little bit too late for Christmas, but this is the Phil Spectre Christmas album, originally released in 1963 with a different cover and a different title as well. This, I think this is the 70s reissue, but this is a great album. There's a lot of you know, kind of yeah, kind of you know, sure, probably a lot of you are probably familiar with this album as well. It's kind of become a Christmas classic, but I did play this just to kind of, because after I give it a clean, just you know, to see how it sounds. It sounds fine, but it did feel a bit weird playing it, you know, kind of just, you know, about a week after, you know, the whole Christmas thing had died down. But come next year, come next Christmas, I will be giving this an extensive spinning. Now, everything else I found as part of this charity shop haul is classical, so I'll go through them kind of quickly. Aaron Copland, Billy the Kid, Rodeo and Fanfare for the Common Man. This is on Turnabout, and it's got an absolutely great cover there. I just love that cover. Some kind of Baroque music again. Exploring the World of Music, Historic Organs of Europe. This is on Peerless. Another great cover there. Poulenc, French composer, one of the six, and Stravinsky as well. This is a early to mid 60s release on the RCA label. Carol Orff, choral piece, choral music, Trionfo di Aphrodite, and this is on the Czech Supraphon label, and more Stravinsky with Petrushka, and another great cover there. This is on Westminster Gold, and it's a promo copy. Okay, everything else I'm going to show now are CDs which I found in various charity, or sorry, first off, Yes, I forgot to mention, on the same day that I met Ben, my local independent record store was having a 25% off sale. Um, I didn't know, the sale had already been on for a week, and I didn't know about it, but there wasn't much vinyl left. But I got two CDs, both by the fall, um, two early albums by them, which I don't have in any kind of format prior to this. Dragnet, um, this is a reissue on Castle Music, I think, and this is Grotesque. Both these albums came out in 1980, so two seminal albums by the fall. So I got these for 25% off. So also with my voucher on the same day that I bought the Bowie Man Who Fell to Earth soundtrack, I got this. This is another soundtrack, a film called Drive. This is by Cliff Martinez. This movie came out a couple of years ago. Soundtrack kind of, it was a kind of bit of a Giorgio Moroder kind of a thing going on. Plus, yeah, I saw this movie when it came out, and I really liked the soundtrack. So when I saw the CD, I grabbed it with my voucher. So now the rest of what I'm going to show are CDs which I've picked up in various thrift or charity shops over the last few weeks. Tori Amos, Night of Huntress. This is from 2011. This actually came out on Deutsche Grammophon, which is primarily a classical label. Interestingly, this was recorded just down, or I think it was recorded, was it, in a town called Kinsale, which is actually just about 20 miles down the road from here. And the inner pictures were all taken around that area as well. Kinsale, it's a popular seaside town, but yeah, interesting concept album from Tori Amos. Yeah, Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds. This was a 30th anniversary edition from, I think it was from 2008, I suppose. Very nice kind of embossed sleeve there, and double fold out. So yeah, so pick this up. This is quite a nice cheap thrift shop pickup of. I'm sure you're all familiar with this album as well. I don't think I need to go into too much detail about it. Now this is an interesting one that I picked up. Exotica. Exotica by Martin Denny. Often see never see the vinyl album of this in the wild, but this is a CD edition of both Exotica 1 and Exotica 2, which both came out, I think, in the late 50s. How would you describe this? Kind of weird, strange kind of easy listening jazz, but it's kind of good easy listening, if you know what I mean. I definitely recommend grabbing this if you see it, because it's yeah, it's kind of it's pretty good kind of background music. Yeah, kind of hard to categorize really. But yeah, and in the same location I also found this Jaco Pastorius debut album from 1976. This CD reissue. 12 Monkeys, the soundtrack to the album. Who did that again? Paul Buckmaster. So yes, Penguin Cafe Orchestra, Broadcasting from Home, their third album, and this was released in 1984. This is an early 90s CD issue. The music for Found Harmonium, a very well-known track, one of our best-known pieces of music.
It was used in the movie Napoleon Dynamite. It's been used in a lot of things. You definitely know it if you hear it. Oh yes. Now these I all found yesterday in the same charity shop. Curtis Mayfield Roots, 1971 classic album from him. So CD reissue on Charlie Records. New York Dolls Rock and Roll. This is a compilation album by them. This is a kind of Afrobeat kind of a thing, kind of African 1980s African pop thing. Johnny Clegg and Sabuka, Third World Child. And this is another album which doesn't need any introduction. Marianne Faithfull, Broken English. I'm sure you're all familiar with this. Absolutely superb album from 1979. Again, these guys don't need any introduction. The Smiths, the sound of the Smiths. This is a compilation. I probably have most of these tracks already anyway, but couldn't resist grabbing that. These are two that I actually picked up today in a flea market. Enter the Dragon soundtrack by Lalo Schifrin. I already have an original vinyl copy of this, but I couldn't resist grabbing this. Also Philip Glass, Hero Symphony, which I already actually have as well, a different version of this, but it also has this piece called The Light, which I don't have, so grab that. This is on Naxos. Okay, that's it. This video has kind of run on a bit longer than I intended. Thanks very much for watching, and well, I suppose a belated Happy New Year to everybody.